Under siege today, I'm Anthony Robart. Well, some of you may remember back in 1999 when Toronto got hammered with more than 80 centimeters of snow in a 12-day span. 438 troops and 128 vehicles came from CFB Petawawa. Well, today, it's certainly not as bad, but really, it's not that far off if you add up the numbers. According to Pearson Airport, more than 63 centimeters of snow has fallen since last weekend. And it's still coming. So who knows, maybe soldiers will still be sent in. In the meantime, we sent Lexi Benedict out to see the impact of this winter storm on the city.
After being hit with a winter storm just less than 24 hours ago, here's another gut punch. Toronto residents are digging out yet again as another 25+ centimeters of snow hits the GTA.
We were due. We've had a couple of mild winters so far, but it's nice to look at, not so fun to shovel.
Residents today dressed for the occasion.
Tell us about the goggles.
Yeah, I mean, when I was out here earlier, just snow's blowing around, so I'm like, let me get my ski stuff out and like, might as well, maybe I can toboggan down this hill too, who knows.
I'm glad it's a Sunday, I'm home to actually shovel it.
Earlier in the week, the city saw the biggest snowstorm in 3 years. Now this could be the biggest.
And in southern Ontario, we have already received about 25 centimeters, so there's 3 to 5 left.
Deteriorating conditions impacting flights out of Toronto's Pearson Airport.
I'll say as of 11 a.m., 25% of departing flights and 28% of arriving flights have been canceled by airlines, but it is an incredibly dynamic situation.
Leaving travelers today frustrated.
So we've been here all night.
Multiple flights have been delayed over and over and over with Air Canada.
Christine and her family have been here since 7:30 a.m. yesterday morning.
We should be on a beach. I don't think I'm getting any money back. It's my daughter's 16th birthday today. So yeah, not great.
And out on the roads, conditions are challenging.
You can't see the lane markings. We have had cars in ditches, some collisions happening as we speak.
Including the Jackknife Semi on 401 East.
So do everybody else a favor, stay home, stay safe.
That's what the Toronto Zoo and ROM want, both shut down due to the weather. And the TTC is struggling too, with no service on portions of Line 1 and 2.
And while these conditions aren't ideal for those shoveling driveways or trying to get to their next destination, they are ideal for those looking to have fun in the snow.
I love it. It reminds me of like when I was a kid.
The city says the snow removal will begin early next week. It will be transported to designated storage sites. Lexi Benedict, Global News.
And here's an interesting stat. Pearson says it is just a few centimeters shy of the total 67 centimeters of snow that was recorded for all of last winter. So yes, it has definitely been a snowy winter so far. And you know, Global News Chief Meteorologist Anthony Farnell, even on a day off, couldn't miss such a big weather event. However, it is his day off, so we have to keep that in mind. Our weather specialist Noah Raffet will join us for your long-range forecast. But in the meantime, here's Anthony for the first look.
The snow is just now wrapping up. We got about 20 to 25 centimeters that fell in Toronto, which is actually 10 centimeters less than what we were expecting. This low has moved quicker. It's also a bit further south, so there is a sliver of good news. But as you can see behind me, there's a lot of cleanup that has to happen. We have yet to see plows on many of the side and secondary streets in Toronto. The major thoroughfares are also faring rather poorly today with those snowfall rates and gusty winds. And if you're thinking all this is going to melt, well, I've got some news for you. It remains well below seasonal throughout this upcoming week. We may not see above freezing temperatures until maybe early March. So the city first has to clear the streets and then figure out a way to remove all of this snow, because there are some difficult passages on some of those more narrow streets with streetcar tracks as well. As far as this system, it is still impacting eastern Ontario, moving into Quebec and the Maritimes, where amounts will be even heavier, locally 30 to 40 or even 50 centimeters of snow. Also freezing rain, a big concern in Nova Scotia. So it's a large 1-2 wallop that we've seen in the last few days. And now we have sun in the forecast this week. but also those cold temperatures and blustery winds gusting to 60 kilometers an hour on Family Day. I'm meteorologist Anthony Farnell.
And we have an update to share with you on the 3-alarm fire at an apartment building in St. Jamestown. This was the scene Saturday morning. And Noor Rafat, our weather specialist, joins us now to talk about the weather and the weather forecast. And those who are longing, who have been longing for a real winter, certainly got their wish, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely, Anthony. And it's been quite the mess in central and eastern Canada now. Many turning their attention to cleanup, of course. But in order to do that, you have to be dressed properly, because now what so many are left with is a lot of Arctic air. Let's take a look. Well, it is going to take a while to clean up from this, as Anthony told us. And the good news is tomorrow is going to be dry. So take your time in cleaning up that mess. The bad news is it's going to be quite windy, and it's going to be quite cold with those wind chill values at -17 in the early morning hours. And those winds could gust up to 60, if not 70 kilometers per hour in the Toronto region. So some of the snow that's already on the ground could still get blown around despite it being dry in the GTHA. Cold has not been uncommon this time of year in the prairies. They've been dealing with a massive amount of Arctic air. That has sent the wind chill values in parts of Manitoba at -50 at times. Quite brutal. And you can see the polar vortex has been expanding further, sending its Arctic air further down south in the United States through large parts of Ontario. And we've seen the temperature change thanks to all of that cold air in Ottawa, Montreal, Fredericton, Halifax, and Toronto. Cold today, colder tomorrow, and into the next few days. Now, as you mentioned, that system is going to track east hour by hour, and it will be a very dry night tonight in the GTHA, but mostly cloudy. Heading into your Monday, all of this moves out, but you can already see a setup that we're not too unfamiliar with. Lake-enhanced snow once again bringing those squalls to areas like Wyerton and to Barrie and Waterloo for your Monday and your Tuesday. So while Toronto may see some sunny breaks, we could see some of those flurries roll in, especially around Tuesday in the region, thanks to those snow squalls. Wednesday was when we'll start to see some of that activity die down. Sunnier breaks for most, but of course that will be after they see a lot more accumulating snow in the coming days. So could see another 20 centimeters or so potentially around parts of Georgian Bay, or to the south of Georgian Bay I should say, also pushing into New York State where we're seeing a lot of that accumulation. And don't forget about that strong wind on Monday, as I mentioned, gusting upwards of 70 kilometers per hour potentially in Toronto. So not a surprise if we see some power outages due to these strong winds. Your Tuesday will also be windy, although a tad bit calmer, maybe around the 50 to 60 kilometer per hour range when it comes to those winds. -7 in Niagara Falls tomorrow, Belleville, Cobourg, Oshawa, -7, a popular number there, and a popular number in Toronto Tuesday into Wednesday. Take a look at how long that Arctic air lingers into your Thursday with some flurries, -6 degrees, -3 for Friday. Saturday and Sunday closer to seasonal, and Sunday your best bet to see sunshine for the weekend.
The former Kamloops
Global Toronto. This is Global News at 11.
Tonight,
It's nice to look at, not so fun to shovel.
yet another snowstorm batters the GTA. Details on the impact for residents, travelers, and major attractions across the city. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Anthony Robart. Residents across the city were digging out today after another major snowstorm. Now the conditions had a major impact on the roads as well as at the airport. Nathaniel Dove has more in our top story.
Experiencing whiteout conditions.
A winter storm hitting parts of southern Ontario hard. Nearly 25 centimeters of snow fell in Toronto within 24 hours, on top of the roughly 20 that fell earlier. Visibility at times near zero. The snow slowing down streets and closing parts of Toronto's subway, forcing people onto buses.
On a normal day, you'd be able to see the CN Tower from here. Right now, though, it's tough to see down the block. And this normally busy intersection is relatively empty. Even major Toronto attractions on the Family Day long weekend, like the Royal Ontario Museum and Toronto Zoo, were forced to close.
and frustration at the country's biggest airport.
And we tried to get hotels and we couldn't get hotels, and so we've been here all night.
Pearson Airport says airlines delayed around a quarter of departing flights.
We are on track to exceed the total amount of snow accumulation the 7 days that we saw for the entire 2023-2024 winter season.
Not great. We should be on a beach. I don't think I'm getting any money back. It's my daughter's 16th birthday today. So yeah, not great.
The storm's reach widespread, even reaching Ottawa. Those stuck at home, stuck digging out.
This is the third shovel so far, and I mean, it's still coming down. We can't complain. It's Canada, right?
Environment Canada telling Global News only another 3 to 5 centimeters should fall in Toronto, but that the snow still isn't going away.
Temperatures will stay cool enough for it to stay on the ground. There's no doubt about it.
Jean-Philippe Bégin says it's best to stay at home and avoid travel if possible, though you may not have the option. Nathaniel Dove, Global News, Toronto.
And the question on everybody's mind tonight is, have we seen the end of the snow, or will Family Day bring more flurries? For those
whirlwind of a weekend, and finally things are starting to die down when it comes to that snow. Of course, the damage already done in Toronto, potentially 25 centimeters could have fallen through the course of the day today, so a little bit less than what we were expecting, but still quite the dump. The system has moved on east and out of Ontario, eventually into Quebec and the Maritimes, where it's wreaking quite a bit of a ruckus still over there. Flurries the past 2 hours or so around the GTHA, but for the most part expecting a dry rest to your evening. The winds, though, they've been picking up through the course of the day, and they've been quite high, gusting upwards of 50 kilometers per hour, blowing that snow around. And now as we see that system move on, it's time for something else to take hold. The lake effect machine will kick right back up, and with that we know the return of snow squalls is inevitable for areas like Barrie into southern Grey County, southern Bruce County, starting tomorrow, where totals could see exceeding the 60 centimeter range as that phenomenon continues into the next few days. So by Monday, while we see some sunny breaks in the GTHA, into Peterborough, Tweed as well, here are those snow squalls pushing through Wyerton, Owen Sound, maybe even making their way towards areas around the lake for some brief flurries, but for the most part, dry conditions expected through the course of your day tomorrow. When it comes to winds, though, that's a different story. It's going to be a very windy day, gusting upwards of 70 kilometers per hour, potentially in the Toronto region. And take a look at what's happened to the temperatures. -6 your high, but with the wind chill, feeling closer to the -17 range in the early morning. Anthony?
Thank you so much, Nor.